Welcome to the new edition of our weekly ABBA League magazine, which is entirely devoted to the happening in the Serbian capital, where of course ABBA League's Final Four was being staged. In the first part of the show, we'll take a look at what's happening in the league, and in the second part, the review of the Final Four, of course, the best 5 actions of the tournament in the end. We start with the news. Before both semi-finals actually started, there was a ceremony in which the awards were being presented to its winners. Dejan Radonjić of Crvena Zvezda was presented with a Coach of the Year award. The Montenegrin has masterminded its first place after the regular season, suffering only 4 defeats along the way. Unfortunately, the next one was to be fatal, as it happened to be the first semi-final against Cibona. That was Crvena Zvezda's second exit at this stage of the competition, as they suffered similar fate in the semi-final of the Euro Cup. Dario Šarić was named the most improved player for the season. The player was instrumental in Cibona reaching high glory after what has been a pretty turbulent season in Zagreb. Šarić averaged 16.3 points, 9.5 rebounds, 3 assists and 1.4 steals per game. He was eventually also awarded the MVP of the Final Four tournament, thus rounding up an excellent season. A special recognition for contributing to the ABBA League went to now retired Macedonian center Todor Gečovski, who played for Zadar and MZT Skopje in his career. He played his last game for MZT against Radnički on the 23rd of March this year. For the first time in the league's history, the best starting 5 was announced. Only one player not playing for either Partizan or Crvena Zvezda was selected, that of course being Dario Šarić, who was also named the MVP of the season. Best point guard is DeMarcus Nelson from Crvena Zvezda, and Bogdan Bogdanović gets selected as the best shooting guard. At number 5 we have Geoffrey Lauvergne from Partizan, and at number 5 Boban Marjanović of Crvena Zvezda. The director of the EuroLeague, Jordi Bertomeu, also visited the tournament and was available for questions for the press. After the Partizan lost to Cedevita, of course, most of the questions went whether the Serbian champion will be able to play in EuroLeague.
In principle, the criteria is to give wildcards in the countries where, in the opinion of the EuroLeague, need and special support in order to help our game to growth. And in principle, there are countries where we believe that fortunately the game it's promoted, the game is popular, the game is important, and it's no doubt that this region, the Adriatic League region, it's among those countries, as Spain and other countries. So, according with those criteria, I think that to have a wildcard in the area at this moment, I see it difficult. Any speculation about what can happen at the end of the season, today it's too early, because we have to see how all the national championship finish, who is the Eurocup champion, so the different circumstances that can affect the final chart of the EuroLeague.
Last but not least, there has been a change of teams participating in the ABBA League. Solno gets replaced by Levski from Sofia after the team from Hungary decided to give way after 2 years. Levski is a 17-time Bulgarian champion and a current cup holder, and has signed a 3-year deal with the league. Crvena Zvezda against Cibona was our first semi-final in the Combank Arena. Radonjić's team was by far the most convincing team after the regular season, while Rimač's Cibona was considered a surprise package, and rightly so, as the club managed to get the last F4 ticket in spite of various problems. Jaka Blažić was showing signs of good form as he opened the scoring, and after Nelson's rebound he added another 2 points. It seems Zvezda was opening the game well, but that image faded away rather quickly as soon problems started to emerge. Nelson was not having his night organizing things for the red and white. Šarić was quick to punish that, and Cibona was not going to hand over the lead to the opponent for the rest of the match. The home team went as many as 4 minutes without scoring, as Cibona took regular advantage of that. The team from Zagreb were in front by 12 points when Marin Rozic scored. Still, Zvezda at least got something from the last minute of the first half, as Blažić first drove and dunked for his 8th point, which he then followed up with his 10th. It seemed Cibona would at least preserve an 8-point lead, but Charles Jenkins managed to steal the ball right at the end of the quarter, and Zvezda somehow managed to close the gap to just 6 points after being much more for the majority behind for the first 10 minutes. No real change at the beginning of the second quarter, as Cibona was quick to get away to a 10-point lead. Blažić was just about the only player from Zvezda to play well. Then it was time for Dario Šarić to show why he's considered one of the most talented players in the world, as he provided the highest lead for Cibona thus far. The lead grew even further in the next minute, after which Blasingame made a mistake and Blažić was able to score again after Jenkins had provided an assist. As in the first quarter, Zvezda managed to get closer, as they managed to finally score for 3 in the end, one of only 2 3-pointers in the entire match. The third quarter all but the same as the previous two, as Seriščević stole the ball and fed it to Rozic, who made it 43-29 to the visitors. Radonjić reacted with a timeout, but it didn't have much effect, as Šarić managed to fire another 3 right after it. A result didn't change much throughout the third period. A glimpse of hope here and there for the home fans, as in the case of this Marjanovic's dunk. But the plot had then changed completely in the last period, as Cibona's short bench had started to show and Crvena Zvezda sensed an opportunity. After Jenkins rounded up a successful fast break, the lead had dropped to 10 points after quite some time, and then to 8, as the fans also recognized the growing push and were slowly getting back into the game again. But to their agonizing misfortune, Blasingame and Šarić were having none of it, as the American scored another 3 and put his team back to relative safety. The real drama then started to emerge 2.5 minutes before the end of the game, when Blasingame lost the ball and Nelson closed the gap to less than 10 points. Cibona made further mistakes, and Crvena Zvezda performed better in defense and managed to finally get within striking distance, as the lead was cut to just 4 points just before Slaven Rimac was actually forced to take a timeout. Not much help from it though, as Marko Simonovic dunked with a vengeance to put Zvezda just 2 points behind. And when Šarić scored only 1 free throw at the other end, Crvena Zvezda had a chance to equalize. Kuz fouled Jenkins, but the American was only half successful from the free throw line, and Cibona remained in the lead. The red and white had their last chance when Simonovic had the chance to score for 3, but he missed, while at the other end Marin Rozic scored the deciding basket, and Cibona Zagreb, against all odds, was in the final. Gerald Blasingame and Dario Šarić were the star performers, and with the former reaching 29 points and 9 assists, and the latter boasting with 21 points, 15 rebounds and 6 assists, it was clear Cibona was the better team. By far the best player at Crvena Zvezda's ranks was Jaka Blažić with 25 points. 14,000 people turned up in the Kombak Arena, and almost all of them were passionately giving their support for the black and white, who were playing Cedevita for the second spot in the final. The Croatians were the first to get the better of the game, with Nolan Smith opening the scoring, while it took Partizan more than 2.5 minutes to get going. Unfortunately for the many loyal supporters, they stayed at those 2 points for quite some time, while their opponent was readily getting away. 9-2 after Smith's points, then 11-2 courtesy of Miro Bilan, and then 13-2 when Luka Babic was successful. Big problems then for the home team, who eventually had some good moments towards the end of the first period, as Davis Bertans managed to score for 3. But Cedevita was playing well at this stage of the game, as the team from Zagreb managed to open up a 16-point lead in the middle of the second quarter. Fortunately for the more and more frustrated crowd, Sasha Pavlovic started to become a real threat for the visitors, scoring 2 consecutive three-pointers and putting Partizan to 10 points behind. When Bogdan Bogdanovic chipped in on one of his own, the tide had seemed to be turning in Partizan's favour, but that hadn't really come through, as Luka Babic continued with the Festival of Trees. Mihailo Andrić at the other end doing exactly the same. When Milenko Tepic scored, it was clear Partizan managed to get into a good shooting rhythm and the game became much more close and intense. 3 minutes into the second half, and the home team made sure the crowded place exploded in delirium, as Gagic was able to provide a very first lead for the black and white, and a moment later that was confirmed when Tepic punished Bajdaric's mistake. But Cedevita would respond, first Luka Babic confirming his good performance. And then Cedevita took the lead back after a nice piece of play from Ivan Ramljak. Then Bogdanovic stopped the guests from getting away with a new three-pointer, and while later made sure the home team were in the lead again. Come the end of the third period, we had seen another good piece of play from Ivan Ramljak, and nothing was sure before the last 10 minutes of the game. Partizan was the better team at the start of the last quarter, as they managed to open up a significant lead of 9 points for the first time in the game, courtesy of Pavlovic. The same player was responsible for first stealing the ball and then took Partizan to a 10-point lead. Oh, we wouldn't wait long for the other side to respond though, as Goran Suton scored for 3 to cut the deficit to 7. Around 4 minutes before time, Cedevita came even closer through Luka Babic, and by the time Miro Bilan scored, Cedevita had come right back in it, as the score was level at 74 and we were in for a blast of a finish. Just 20-odd seconds before the end of the game, Partizan held a minimal lead while holding the ball as well, but Milenko Tepic missed his shot and Cedevita had a chance to write a bit of history in the few seconds remaining. This is the action with Milenko Tepic first missing his shot. And then Nolan Smith took the responsibility, and in the very last second of the game, with a desperate shot, somehow found the way to the basket. The crowd went completely silent as they watched the second Croatian team making it to the final against all odds. It was, of course, the completely unexpected final between the two Croatian representatives, guided by Slaven Rimac and Jasmin Repeša. Marino Bajdarich was the first one to score in the final, after first stealing the ball himself. Cibona got going by scoring 4 points in a single action, as Blasingame scored for 3 and was fouled in the process. (8-7) turned to be the last lead Cedevita would hold in this game, as Kus with a 3 announced Cibona wouldn't take its foot off the gas for the rest of the game. A minute and a half before the end of the first quarter, the score was level for the last time in the match to 14, and the period itself ended with 18-14, with Darko Planinic the last to score in it. Similar situation in the second one, as Cibona was able to maintain distance, but having said that, Cedevita was shooting well enough to keep in touch with the opponent. Didn't last long though. 3 minutes before the end of the half, Rosic scored for 3 again. And a bit later, Cibona held the lead of 34-23. At least Cedevita was able to close the gap a bit when Delas was successful for 3. A couple of changes for both teams at the start of the second half as the balance was maintained. But then, in the 34th minute, Cibona opened up a 12-point lead through Siriščević's 3-pointer. Just like in the game against Crvena Zvezda, Šarić and Blasingame were the key players of the matchup. They mostly made sure the gap wouldn't fall below 10 points. Come the end of the third period, the Blue from Zagreb were holding a lead of 11 points and paving the way to its first ABA League title. Blasingame and Šarić continued keeping the impression they were not going to allow any doubts about the winner, as first the American put it to 52-39, and then the young Šarić scored another 3 to put Cedevita behind by as much as 16 points. Their players seemed to be losing it, as only rare glimpses of life emerged, like in this case from Yusuf Nurkic. At the other end, Šarić was justifying his MVP status with versatility, as in this case when he passed nicely for Jagodić Kuriđa. Towards the end, Cedevita tried desperately with 3-pointers, with Goran Suton being precise, and the gap was close to 10 points, but ultimately it was to no avail, as it became clear that Cibona wouldn't drop their performance. The last minutes were more or less the wait for the game to end, as Cibona was starting their celebration, transferred partly to the court itself, like in this case of nice dunking. Siriščević's free throw 13 seconds from time was then the last point of the game, and the end result stood at 72-59. So the party could now really begin, as Cibona has succeeded in attaining the only trophy it has been missing in its illustrious collection, as well as bringing the trophy back to Croatia since 2003.
I mi smo odigrali stvarno dobru utakmicu, stvarno opet smo ušli to furiju.
Oh, we really played a great game. We started superbly and were able to catch the right rhythm from the beginning. It's hard for me to comment on the duel as I was completely focused on the game. I cannot really say how it all looked from the outside, how the game was developing on the court. I think we overplayed Cedevita with a fast and aggressive basketball. They did have a good defensive plan, but today our unpredictability won the game. We always had an answer to anything they threw at us.
Mi po meni imamo najveći od svih ekipa ovdje, jednostavno donijeti tu pobjedu.
Šta se kaže, početnička sreća, jel?
You could say we had some beginner's luck. Because of all we had to go through the season, this story is particularly beautiful. I've been in basketball for a long time now, and I can't say I remember many of them. After almost half of the team left us, our goal was basically to stay in the ABA League. We managed to find some chemistry between us, we started to play well and win games. Some were laughing about our ambitions, but we slowly ground our way into the Final Four. Then we managed to beat Crvena Zvezda and then win this game today. I had a feeling it was supposed to end this way. We missed a couple of shots in the first game already, but that said, I believe it was just the thing we needed. I'm so happy for the players who endured all the stresses of the season. Our key players were spending more than half an hour per game on court, but also our less experienced players were able to contribute to our success.
Mlađi koji praktično do sad nemaju nikakvog iskustva i oni su dali obol cijelom tom rezultatu.
So these are the end results of the semi-finals and of the final game as well. And congratulations against Cibona and of course to the league, because we do have a new champion. And now let's take a look which are the best actions we've seen at the tournament. At number 5 we have that Šarić-Jagodić-Kuriđa collaboration. At number 4, the tallest man of the league showing his authority, Boban Marjanović. We also have a player dunking at number 3, Jaka Blažić this time. Dario Šarić and his strong block in the final is our number 2. And the best action of the tournament has to be that Nolan Smith buzzer beater decider, which took Cedevita to the final. Amazing scenes there in the Kombak Arena. So this is the end of our report from a very exciting and utterly unpredictable Final Four of the ABA League. It's been another great basketball experience, as this is the way the curtains closed on the 13th season of this exciting competition. We'll be back one more time as we prepare to bring you the review. Until then, bye-bye.